Hi guys, best regards from Ingolstadt. I have heard that you entered the Kamel GT Championship this year in the good old GTO car, so I wish you best of luck and a lot of success.
Best greetings to all drivers from the Audi GTO 90 Championship. Good success.
The GTP class picked up where it left off last season, but the GTO class has seen something of a shakeup. Le Mans has always going to offer the chance for things to turn out a bit weird, so with a return to a more typical road course at Silverstone, will we see Hagner come back on top? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 2 of the iRacing Kamel GT series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Lindgren. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Silverstone has gone through a lot of changes over the years, so to bring us up to speed on its most recent iteration, let's head over to our track guide. Welcome to Silverstone. Most famously known for being the first circuit to host a round of Formula One, this place has since become synonymous with British motorsports. Hosting everything from sports cars to touring cars to open wheels and even motorcycles, it's a track that fits a wide variety of vehicles. With 3 different layouts to choose from, you've got a little something for any level of racing. The longest of those layouts boasts 18 turns along 3.19 miles. That comes out to 5.13 kilometers in metrics, so it can take a bit to get around it, even in higher-powered machinery. Its main characteristics are the high-speed straights and corners and general lack of elevation change. Its most famous set of turns is most definitely the Maggots-Beckett sequence, in which anything with high downforce finds itself challenged with the rapid changes of direction. However, don't discount the first couple corners in this latest iteration of the track. Abbey and Farm often require a greatly balanced car and some serious bravery if you're side-by-side. Corners such as Village, Brooklyn, Stowe, and Vale see the majority of overtaking action, but in cars with less horsepower, expect the draft to offer other opportunities. The Hangar Straight is perhaps the most notorious for draft battles to erupt. All in all, this versatile racetrack located just northwest of London provides both history in its roots and action on the tarmac. The huge number of British fans that typically attend events are seldom left wanting. Nothing like a race around the British countryside for us to enjoy some motorsport, Adam, but how are these cars going to handle this place is the big question.
Well, Silverstone is a beautiful 3.19 mile or 5.13 kilometer circuit with 18 very wide and very flat turns, and this is where things get interesting. This is not a road course that you can intuit the racing line at. It takes looking back at the history of the circuit to learn the fast way around. And while these particular historical cars never raced at Silverstone, they make for an exciting race with a few quirks. A flat track is a nightmare for the Audi, handling and tires, so expect to see a lot of blown apexes from them. And for the Nissans, the bumpiness of this scan of Silverstone can prove fatal on the straights if you put just too much wheel in the car. Both classes will have to be careful around one another, as there will likely be a lot of battling and going wide for the Audis today, making it hard for the large Nissan field to find their way by. But they'll be seeing far more of each other this race than at Le Mans. Speaking of last week, was not without incident, Joe. Want to take us through the points?
Absolutely. Let's start with the GTPs, as that was a 2-horse race up at the front. Albrecht fighting, of course, with Gerber for much of the way, but it was Olenek who wound up in second. John Atkinson, Lepisto, and Iamaki round out the top five, of course, with only one round, as you'd expect. Everybody's very, very close together. Today could split things apart a little bit more. Let's take a look at the GTOs, as we had a little bit more drama there at the end.
Definitely, yeah. With a battle between Jamie Hall and Phil Lake all the way up to the last lap, Michael Houghton comes through with the win after a last lap incident between those two former drivers. Or those two drivers, they're not former drivers. They're still racing today. Jamie Hall in second with Yoni Hagner third. Phil Lake fell all the way back to fourth, and Daniel Sadro in fifth. And that's after one round.
Former driver's line is almost like me calling the untimely death of a driver too early a little bit ago. Meanwhile, let's take a look at the Milk Zoo Championship, as that is a special thing we do here in the Kamel GT series. You saw the video before. This is just Italian drivers who are racing in this. Franco Scurri, who won the championship last season, starts things off with another victory among those cars. Ponte, of course, finishing second behind Buscemi, rounding out the podium of those Italians. And then you see Giorduscia and De Pasqua rounding out our top five. We'll try and keep an eye on those Italian drivers. They somehow always wind up close to each other out on the track somehow. At least gives us a lot of action to call between them. What about the race details, though, Adam? What are we looking at in terms of how today's actual race goes down?
Well, this is round 2 of 12 for the Kamel GT series. This is an official iRacing series, so anyone can hop on and drive this thing, as we saw last week where it split twice. This is a 14-minute race, so not their endurance race, so they're not going to pit today. They have an open setup and no free repair, but here's the new thing for this season. Incidents: 17 X's gets you a penalty, 25 gets you an automatic DQ. So these drivers, especially around this track, are going to have to be a little bit more careful than they have been in past seasons, Joe.
Absolutely. It's a modern F1 track, so there's paved runoff, and there's always the temptation to get those 1Xs racked up doing that. In the meantime, we want to remind you that we have a merchandise store here on GSRC, and, well, we're doing a real special deal with it for the month of December. Make sure and subscribe to GSRC. If you do, you are automatically entered into a giveaway in which you can take your pick of any item from our merchandise store if you win. Of course, if you subscribed in December or before December, you are entered anyways. We're doing one for December, one for before December, so that everybody gets a shot at trying to win something special for the holidays. Right now in qualifying, Ardo Iamaki is our provisional pole sitter up in the GTPs. And, well, Yoni Hagner is back up on top, at least in qualifying. He leads the way down in the GTOs.
Yeah, but the intervals between those drivers are very small, actually, between Yoni and Jamie Hall in second in the Audis, whereas Ardo Iamaki has about a quarter of a second lead over Justin Albrecht, which is a little bit of a surprise because we've seen Albrecht's pace increase over the last couple seasons. So a good showing from Ardo to start this race if he gets pole.
Most of the GTPs do seem to be done, and there's a large field of prototypes here today as we watch Hagner come around and complete that second lap. It goes a little bit quicker by about 0.2. That's going to put him a little farther out of reach of Jamie Hall, who's still working his way around. I see a name coming over from the Lotus 49s. Roman Pavlowski joins us, currently in 7th, and he's finished both of his laps, so looks like he's done with his little warm-up here as he slows down through the infield section. Trangrade also calling it a day after his second lap. A 2:01.1 puts him into 5th in that class.
Taking a look at Juan Ignacio Giorduscia going around the track right now. His fastest is a 2:02, so couple seconds off with the lead, but he's running some consistent lap times, and he was running pretty consistently in practice, so he could definitely get a good result if he keeps it consistent today.
Jamie Hall just finished his second lap, and, well, he improved by about 0.2. I said it was 0.2, but it's just not enough. He's got 0.108 still to make up to Hagner, but that's his 2 laps done, so he is now not able to catch him and take the pole away. Looking to see who else is out there running still, if we've got anybody who's able to complete a lap, and I don't believe we do. Looks like our grid is set, even though we've got about 30 seconds left. Actually, take that back. Giorduscia comes across the line. Actually, well, he doesn't set a lap anyways. He must have had him off somewhere. So I was right in the first time. Anyways, let's go through that starting grid. Starting with our prototypes, Ardo Iamaki is on the pole. Justin Albrecht is trying to come back and take a second championship and is doing well here at the start. He'll be on the front row. Fabian Gerber going to try and stop him. He'll be starting third. His brother right next to him in fourth, Tobias Gerber there, and then Kitty Ingstrom in fifth place, followed by Ante Lepisto in P6. The inside of the next row, Roman Pavlowski in 7th. Then it's Steve Bycroft in 8th position. Rob Olenek will be starting P9. The top 10 will be rounded out by Martin Krejcik. Then you've got Nick Lucano starting 11th. Linus Tech now will be 12th. Dustin Heroder will be P13 at the drop of the green today. Fabian Jungbluth, a little bit far down for him. Usually he's been a little bit quicker recently. He'll start 14th. Pablo Suarez will be 15th behind him. Then to his outside in 16th position, it's Robert Plumley. Roberto De Filippi is one of our drivers in the Milk Zoo Championship, starts 17th position. John Keefe starts 18th, and Laust Olsen 19th. Last two are Jeremy Swain in 20th and Lance Simon in 21st.
Yoni Hagner is going to start off on the pole in the GTO class with Jamie Hall alongside him. Dennis Neidhart starting off in third with Philip Blake on the 4th position. Ove Traeger is going to start off row 3 with Michael Houghton alongside him. Row 4 is going to be Daniel Sadro and Reed Miller. Then we have Franco Scurry and Juan Ignacio Jorducha as well. Then we have Esko Letaniniemi and then Lewis Emerton, Jonathan Mansell, and Marco Sassana are going to be in that field as well. Then we have Joseph Erlbach, Cedric Coyle, Johnny Bell, Hideki Koivisto, Wolf Dietrich Hotho, and Gareth Robenshaw rounding out your field with 41 cars today.
Pretty full field here, so hopefully we'll get a relatively clean race, but it's hard to get that in this series. It is very, very frantic out on track if you've never watched the Kamel GT series before. So be prepared for a show today. As you can see, the Porsche pace car going to lead them off in just a very short pace lap here. We'd expect the GTO class to back off just a bit to give themselves a gap up to our leaders. Now coming down to the pit lane entry, that's going to allow Iamaki to have control of the field through the final few corners. How soon does he take off? Does he wait? Is he going to back them up here through club? Taking it a little bit slow, and now it looks like he's starting to accelerate as the green flag is out. Oh, but he has a bad exit out of that last corner, and Justin Albrecht already on top of him as they come down to Abbey. He's going to try and back out of it a little bit as he's not fully side by side. Rest of the field looking like they're streaming through mostly single file. Albrecht a little bit under attack by Gerber down into Village, and it looks like he's going to be able to hold him back as let's go to the Audis.
Yeah, we had a wreck in the Audis. Actually, Cedric Coyle blew the corner, and it looks like Esko Letaniniemi lost quite a few positions. But everyone at the front of the Audi field has been doing pretty well so far. Yoni Hagner still with that lead with Philip Lake a good couple seconds behind him. But the mid-pack of this Audi field is really bunched up together, Joe.
Looks like everything down into Village was pretty good for the rest of the field. We'll get back to that replay a little bit later. It looked like Albrecht would have a good chance at taking the lead away from Iamaki right at the start, but since then he has dropped a second off of our GTP leader. Fabian Gerber as well doesn't seem to have pace to keep up with Albrecht. Instead, Fabian and Tobias, the two brothers, are the ones fighting for the final podium spot. Now coming through the Maggots-Beckett sequence. They've got a train of cars behind them there in third. Ingstrom, Lepisto, Pavlowski, Olenek, Bycroft, all still very, very close behind as they come up to Stowe for the first time. Iamaki being caught just slightly, about 8 tenths now between himself and Albrecht.
Yeah, I think a lot of the action in these early laps is where you're going to see it right up here in the GTP field. These cars, it's quite a big field and quite an intense field. We got a lot of fast drivers here, a lot of visitors from other retro series. So very interesting to see how they're going to do today. Take a look at that. That was our leader just going a little bit wide there at the first corner.
Yeah, for those who've been longtime fans, remember there is now an incident limit and there's a penalty even before they reach that. So they got to keep it clean. They'll battle for fifth place rather, as Lepisto tries to go up the inside of Engstrom. And Village, that switches to the outside in the loop. Engstrom is able to fend him off, but they come down the Wellington straight, and a little bit of a slipstream is going to go to Lepisto.
So looks like he's going to go for this move. He's going to go down the inside and see whether or not he can hold it on the inside. It's a tight corner for these GTPs. Oh my goodness, it's close racing there. It looks like he goes a little bit wide, actually. And now it's going to switch back. Anthony Lepisto, good run off the outside, though. Not going to be able to make it work. Yes, he is.
Muscles his way through, so the number 2 car now gets into 5th place. He's got a ways to go with all that side-by-side battling to catch the top 4. We had a little bit of action up at the front of the GTO class, though, here, Adam.
Yeah, this was actually on the first lap. Phil Lake got spun by Dennis Neidhart coming out of the final turn. He's now all the way back in the 13th position. Phil Lake really struggling. Let's see whether or not we can get a replay of this.
We're going to pull this one up. Yeah, this is not the start that Phil Lake wanted. I guess Phil Lake's bad luck has sadly returned to him. He's coming around what looks like Luffield. Nope, that was through Stowe. They're coming up to the final few corners of Club.
And you'll see it right here. As Phil's exiting the corner, this had been a lap before, but as Phil's exiting the corner, Dennis Neidhart just got on his left rear bumper and spun him around. So he's now having to claw his way back to the field.
Apologies that we didn't quite find that, but you could see he was certainly in a lot of action there. Lake has now got his way back to 13th at least. I think that was some cars he was overtaking through the mid-pack. Let's go up to the lead here in the GTOs because Hall and Hagner are still very tightly bound together.
Yeah, Yoni Hagner has been chasing Jamie Hall ever since Jamie made the pass for the lead just about half a lap ago. Yoni Hagner, these two are going to be battling it out the whole day, just like we saw at Le Mans, just like we saw for pretty much half the season last season. So expect to see these two nose to tail for the entire race. We would have seen Phil up there with them, but after Phil's incident, that's going to be a problem. We have another incident in the back. That's Marco Sassana going around.
And for some reason, we've got Franco Scurry coming into the pits. That is not scheduled. So we take a look at Marco here. As this looks like this happened towards the end of the lap. We're going to take a replay in a single car incident with the Audi finding a little bit too much curb there.
Yeah, it looks like he just clipped that big sausage curb on the inside, and that's caused him to go around. Franco Scurry looks like he's having some sort of mechanical or equipment issue. He's been slow around this entire lap, so he's in the pits now.
Bono still in a nice little fight as Coivisto gets overtaken there through the loop. Although he's going to have a little bit more action with Johnny Bell coming up behind him, but Bell goes wide out of Aintree, so that compromises his race, unfortunately. He's going to have to give up a lot of time there trying to collect it and falls back. Just want to give a quick note on the GTP leaders. Albrecht has been running down Iamaki ever since he lost that initial second on the first lap. It's down to half a second now between himself and the Finn. And in fact, I think less than that as he gets within just about a car length through some of these slow corners.
Gotta be keeping my eye on this. It looks like Arno Iamaki is using up quite a bit of his tires right now, trying to stay away from Justin Albrecht, whereas Justin looks a little bit more composed behind the wheel right now. Iamaki is using the full extent of that car's capabilities, and it looks like Justin is just being quite calm behind the wheel.
What a sense of progression we've seen here with the number 7, continuing to find his pace and his ability to really plan out the entirety of the race just to try and compete with all the level that everybody is at around him. It is still at about 0.6 of a second as they hit the Maggots-Beckett sequence once more. This is a great place to really see the downforce that these things produce. Once again, getting close to the back of the number 5. They come onto the hangar straight. Don't think he's quite close enough this time, but he's definitely giving Ardo something to think about. And as they come up to traffic soon, that could change the complexion of everything.
Yeah, they're going to be at the traffic within the next couple of corners, but definitely by the time they start the next lap, and that's going to make things really interesting. We're going to see whether how Artem and Justin can navigate this traffic. Both of them are very experienced in this car, but let's see whether or not they get held up and get Fabian Gerber get held up as well.
Looks like we just had a pass for the lead. It happened just about 30 or 40 seconds ago into Village. Hall was defending to the inside, and almost that was, I would say, his undoing, because it gave the inside of the following corner of the loop to the Finn. You can see right here, he kept his nose in it. Very clever stuff from the number 1, and that got him the lead back.
Great job from Yoni Hagner to make that pass on Jamie Hall. Looks like Jamie could have fought a little bit harder for it, but decided not to. Remember, this is a long race. We're only about 8 minutes in, and so Jamie Hall and Yoni Hagner both know that it's about who crosses the finish line first who's going to win this race. So both of these guys with lots of opportunities to draft are going to make it really hard for each other if they keep battling.
And we had an off a little bit farther back. That's Jordusha, who was, I think, close to the top 5. Oh, he had it coming together, coming through Cops. This was with Luis Emerton, who switched over from the Nissan recently. And you know what? This looks like Luis had just a missed shift, and the poor 33 car was not able to get out of the way in time. Here we go on the replay.
Yeah, this is one of the most difficult things about the Audi GTO, and it's no surprise to me that even some of the most experienced drivers on the service, goodness gravy, can get caught out with a missed shift. Wow. Ignacio Horjucha doing a great job to hang on to that car as much as he could, but man, that's a difficult situation for him.
Yeah, that seems like a racing incident for sure. He's still chasing Emerton. As you can see, we're back live, and there's quite a bit of damage on Emerton's car, unfortunately. Oh, and we might have to go back to the lead for the prototypes, because Albrecht has now cut it down to 0.2 of a second, and they're in the thick of the traffic now. That is Koivisto that they're trying to go around, and actually that's going to bring in, that's Fabian Gerber looking on Albrecht now, coming into Village. He might be blocked off. Oh, he slides the car and has to catch it just a little bit too hot into the corner.
We're going to be looking forward to seeing a lot of this happen today. The GTPs are going to have to navigate their way through the GTOs who are just on this track, a moving roadblock, because of how hard it is for them to corner around here. The GTPs with their extreme downforce are more akin to the F1 cars that race around this circuit. And so these GTPs are going to be smoking through this field, but it's going to be interesting to see how they navigate the traffic.
Not done with it. It's Erlbach up next. And I think they're going to catch him on a straightaway here, the old pit straight. At least Iamaki is, but what about Albrecht? He's going to try and slide through. Nicely done. Didn't compromise him too much. Did cause a little bit of a checkup for Gerber behind them. Up next, through the S's of the Maggots-Beckett sequence. They're now on a battle here between Hordusha and Emerton. This is definitely going to cause them a little bit of a headache, having to weave their way in and out. Certainly caused a headache for Juan, as he loses tons of time on Luis.
Albrecht got a decent run, but I think he's going to have enough time to get it done. But here they come, up on Phil Lake. Phil Lake's been on a charge himself, and he might not be looking in his mirrors. Let's see what happens here. Justin Albrecht lost a lot of time through that corner right there. And here we come upon Phil Lake. Let's see how Ardo handles this.
Out of club. What's it going to look like here? They're going to get a little bit more throttle than that Audi. But he's going to stay off to the side. This will work out quite well for at least two of them. Maybe Gerber as well. Yeah, he's going to have to try and slide through a little bit. Sketchy, but he makes it work.
And we've actually had a spin from John Keefe and Pablo Umbra Suarez in the background. We don't have to go to it, but those two are battling for about 10th, and they've spun around right now. But look at how close these leaders of the GTPs are. They are neck and neck.
The entire podium, just throw a blanket over them. We've been riding on board with Fabian Gerber there in third, watching up ahead. There's still got a few more. That's Ove Trangrade in sixth. Then they'll at least be through for the first time. But after that, the field is going to get a little bit more spread out each time they pass through those Audis, and eventually it'll become non-stop traffic. We're not even halfway through this race. Iamaki now catches up to the Norwegian. He's going to have to make a dive down into Cops, and he makes it work, but there's yet more traffic in front of him as he goes way off course to get around.
He's going to be able to hold on to that position, though, unless he got an off track for that. But Justin Albrecht, look how quick he is through the corners. Look how quick Fabian Gerber is. He's looking off the inside, but there's an Audi there that's blocking him. Oh, goodness, that was close to Michael Houghton. And now we've got Dennis Neidhart up ahead of them as well.
This is just craziness. I can't believe we haven't had a change for position among these three in all of this lap traffic. There's a first try that we're getting from Justin Albrecht. He gets to the inside and makes contact. Yamaki starts to go around. Gerber goes through. Albrecht continues on. Let's look at the replay. Iamaki falls way down the order from that tip. He winds up in 9th, it looks like.
Just a horrible incident. It just looks like Justin Albrecht thought he was going to be able to hang on to it, but the bumpiness of the circuit and going over that curb just pushed him wide into Ardo Iamaki. Ardo Iamaki now recovering in 11th position, or 10th position rather. He came out in a big gaggle of cars. He's now been able to get past them, but he's going to have a lot of work to do if he wants to get back up to those leaders.
Well,
we have an incident in front of them.
Yep, he almost got caught up in another. That was Heroder and Phil Lake. Oh, poor Phil. Phil just was minding his own business there, and Heroder tried to take back to the racing line. We're going to watch it one more time here. You know, I blame the matte paint scheme on that car. You just couldn't see him well enough.
You know, Phil Lake, if he doesn't have bad luck, he doesn't have any luck at all. And we've seen it multiple times here. He's had to fight. He's having to fight his way back past Esko Letaniemi right now. But man, look at this incident right now. He's just trying to take his line. And it looks like Heroder just didn't expect him to wash out wide like that.
Yeah, those Audis do not have grip in the fast corners. And the 18 obviously had estimated wrong. So things have changed around up at the front of the prototypes. Let's give you the current state of affairs. Gerber is leading. He's got about a 1.5 second lead over Albrecht, who tried to slow up, hoping that Iamaki could catch it and he could give the position back, but that didn't work out. Lepisto now promoted to 3rd. But he's about 1.7 seconds back from Justin Albrecht. So top 3 are now much farther apart than what they were just about a lap ago.
Yeah, this is a very intense fight from the top of the GTP field. I would not be surprised to see Justin Albrecht back on the bumper of Fabian Gerber very shortly. I wouldn't be surprised to see Antti Lepisto make it up there as well. So a lot of these GTP drivers very fast today.
And what is Iamaki feeling after this? He hasn't had a chance to go and watch the incident, so he doesn't necessarily know exactly what happened. As we continue to watch our leaders. Let's head back to the GTO lead, which is still quite close and dealing with a lot of traffic. Hagner is your leader. Poor Jamie Hall keeps being held up by the Nissans coming through. Mukanos was the latest to go by.
Yeah, Jamie Hall has been right on the back of Joni Hagner, but with all the traffic, he has not had an opportunity to get by. Here comes Ardo Iamaki on the inside. He's going to make that clear that very quickly. That is that's Roman Pavlovsky on the outside. Yeah.
Yeah, I suddenly saw a car falling down the order on my timing and scoring. The 14 just slid all on his own. Thankfully, he stopped just off the racing line, so I think he really wasn't too much of a hindrance, if not a distraction.
And that's the best way to handle it. Just hold the brakes. Just wait out there until you have a gap to get to rejoin. You've seen a lot of drivers make unsafe rejoins in many series, and just take notes for some of these fast drivers. Even though they're fast and even though they're competitive,
Pavlovsky in another incident. Oh, just as we come back live. If you want a good angle on that one, Martin Krajcik had to really get out of the way. Let's watch the replay on this one.
This was just another incident of not expecting an Audi to go wide through the corner. And oh my goodness, Krajcik just barely missed that.
Yeah, actually went 4 wheels into the grass to get around it. So good heads up from the number 12 in that process. But we mentioned Roman Pavlovsky came over from the Lotus 49. Not exactly used to, I think, how this multi-class racing is working out in comparison to those older 60s F1 cars. Let's head over to Suarez in a battle for 17th with John Keith. A little bit farther down in the field here. They just went by That was Phil Lake there. Driver in the Audis trying to work his way back through the field. We look out of the 007 cam of Pablo Suarez at John Keefe. These first few corners here, swinging back and forth through Abbey and Farm, slowing it down into Village as they come through the newer portion of this track. And John Keefe really tidy through this section, but not tidy enough to start to make inroads on Suarez, unfortunately.
No, and you'll see a lot of the times these GTPs tend to stay about half a second behind. You may think, especially if you're used to driving sports cars, that this is quite a big gap, but these GTPs can close that gap very quickly, especially under braking, as we're seeing right now. That's Suarez really having to go wide through the corner. John Keefe not able to get the greatest exit, but he was able to take the corner a little bit shorter, and that closes him back up to that 0.5 seconds. That's kind of the comfortable following distance if you're going to follow some guy through traffic.
Ooh, might get another chance here. Suarez held up slightly by Breed Miller. Keefe takes advantage. He gets it down to 0.4 of a second now. Once again, going to have to pick his way through. Houghton staying off to the inside through the Maggots-Beckett sequence, switches to the outside. It does allow Keefe to get right up there. He tries to square off the corner, but he goes wide instead. That could be a wasted opportunity. Dennis Neidhart staying off to the racing line, letting them both through as they come up to Stowe. Superior braking in downforce is going to get them by. Keefe still applying a lot of pressure to the number 22, so he's keeping him honest.
Yeah, John Keefe, the reason why you saw him go wide, exiting that corner onto the straight, he was getting some wheel spin, and
we just had a pass for the lead in the prototypes, and that was with a mistake from Fabian Gerber, all on his own. Let's go to the replay here. This was coming into Brooklands. And this is highly uncharacteristic for Fabian Gerber.
Fabian usually the Iceman around here, but he really seems like he just kind of lost it into that corner. Oh, and while we've been on this replay, Fabian got himself into Antti Lepisto, our third place runner, and yeah, take a look at this. Fabian just really drifting that car right there.
Yeah, he gets it going, and that first Nissan you see getting through is Justin Albrecht taking the lead. Then he's under attack from Lepisto, who sneaks by. As he comes up behind him into the Maggots-Beckett sequence, you'll see it once there's the pass for second. It'll be up into, out of Copse and into Maggots-Beckett just here, as he'll just practically ram into the back of him.
That's not usual for him either. It looks like something's getting under his skin today because he just did not expect Lepisto to be slowing up that much and gets into his back.
Yeah, I would not expect this sort of driving from him. And it does give him second place back. Lepisto falls to fourth. How about Kitty Engstrom, though? Starting this race in fifth and now looking at a podium in that number 15.
And we have to go to lead in GTOs. Yoni Hagner's trying to make a move on Phil Lake here on the straight. They're coming up to the final sector.
That was Suarez going through them. They're now side by side. And Robert Plumley's going to have a block track. He's going to have to wait patiently as these two Audis are side by side through these last few corners. Wow, great momentum around the outside from Jamie Hall. Decisively takes that lead back. Ooh, another problem for Miyamaki in the meantime. Miyamaki off course, and in exactly the same fashion as what we saw from Gerber.
It's
Let's
possible
take a look at the replay.
Yeah, definitely. It's possible that these GTPs are really starting to struggle with that particular corner. It is slightly off camber, and so these GTPs you could drive them with really tight strung suspensions, and they come over that little slight crest, and it looks like that right rear tire is starting to spin up a little bit, and that gets them off balance.
That is a late apex corner too. Is it something where maybe them taking it in deep this whole race is kind of unstabilizing the car on those late apex corners?
Well, if they start to burn off that right rear tire, which a lot of them can do around this fast track, it's possible that they're just losing grip on that as they do come around that late apex and try and make it work.
You can see him still having to come back through. Poor Arto Iamaki, who was in the hunt for the win, has only gotten up to 8th position, and that second spin cost him, is behind him. Big incident Steve Bycroft with one of the GTO drivers. That is Jonathan Manceau.
Yeah, this looks like it's a very peculiar incident. Actually, it looks like Manceau just kind of outbraked himself into this corner and got into the back of it.
I was going to say, this is shades of Verstappen and Vettel this last year at Silverstone, coming into that very corner, getting plowed into, and unfortunately, it did not work out for either driver.
And as we come back, we need to go back to the lead, the GTOs, because these two drivers are not giving up. Yoni Hagner trying the same move on Jamie Hall, and he's got a better opportunity this time.
And this time, though, that looks like Hagner learned his lesson, cuts him off down through the chicane. That's going to retain the lead for Yoni Hagner. As that's been happening, let's stay with this for now, but I'll give a shout. If Fabian Gerber gets any close to Albrecht, it's half a second between our GTP lead even. And in fact, make that all three of them.
Well, that's been happening. John Keefe and Pablo Barra Suarez had an incident, and they both went around at the back of the field. So it's just a lot of action going on around the track right now. Here comes another move from Jamie Hall.
We've got 17 minutes to go, and Jamie Hall can't make it stick. Looking to cut out as much curb as he can onto the Wellington straight. Gives him a little bit of a run, but not enough of one. He's still going to take a peek coming up to Brooklands just to try and get into the head of the fin. That doesn't do much for him now.
So many battles for both leads right now with the GTPs and the GTOs. The GTP lead is Fabian Gerber and Justin Albrecht. Fabian Gerber's been trying to make inroads, but the traffic has not been doing him any favors right now, but he's quite close to the back of Fabian Gerber.
Yeah, he used that traffic to good effect, especially on Kitty Engstrom, who was very much in the hunt for the win potentially here. But he fell back a long ways as we now ride on board with Fabian Gerber, continuing to give watch. They're going to work their way out of Luffield. Here's where the speed starts to pick up through Woodcote, easily flat out in these cars. And then the frighteningly fast Cops, the first corner formerly on this track, now switched over to halfway through the lap.
Looks like Fabian just not having the best of opportunities, but they're coming up on a lap GTP. This is a new incident for them. Oh, goodness. Justin Albrecht getting held up significantly by Lance Simon, the lap GTP, and that gives an opportunity for Fabian Gerber coming onto the straight.
He's going to be right underneath him. He'll get the slipstream. Does Albrecht stay defensive here? Almost all the way into the grass for Fabian Gerber as he puts two wheels off into the green stuff. That'll give him the inside into Stowe. Albrecht has no answer for him. Back into the lead goes Fabian Gerber.
Albrecht thought he had the corner covered up. Oh, goodness. Really tight on the braking, locking it up is Justin Albrecht. Albrecht thought he had Gerber covered off on the straight, but Gerber found just a couple more inches of room in the grass and was able to make the pass.
Oh, my goodness. Albrecht having to try very hard not to ram into Fabian Gerber, and that actually cost him. He was very slow through that last chicane. It's now a second between them. Similarly, it's gone to a second between Hagner and Hall. So just as one breaks up, the other does too.
In the car right ahead of them, that is Phil Lake. Phil Lake has been making good inroads on the field since his lap 1 incident, but he's only made it up to P7. He is really working hard, but it's just not enough to get back up to those leaders. We'll see what he can do with the rest of the race.
Yeah, I think he's a good 20 seconds behind or thereabouts right now. So Philip Lake is certainly not looking at a victory today. How about credits to Dennis Neidhart, though? The number 10 still running in third, although he hasn't been close to Hagner and Hall. He's still got to hold off Michael Houghton, mind you, but he's looking at a podium. And if Hagner and Hall tangle, well, I mean, it's not out of the picture that Neidhart himself could sneak a victory.
Well, we saw the leaders tangle last week, and then it's possible that could happen again. But we do need to go back to the lead in the GTPs because they're navigating through some very tough traffic right now. And Fabian Gerber is getting held up by Reed Miller in 5th. And this is giving an opportunity for Justin Albrecht.
Justin and Fabian know the game out here. They know that it's going to come back their way, at least at some point with the traffic. If they stay calm, more cars going to hold to the inside, or are they going to hold to the outside? That's Michael Houghton having to drift out on corner exit. Boy, I don't know how they navigate this so well. But still, that's going to cause an awkward line for Justin. Albrecht is behind them. A lot of wheel spin for Engstrom, who gets pinched down. And poor Michael Houghton, unfortunately, is having to have eyes everywhere.
Oh, Justin Albrecht, he had a good opportunity on Fabian Gerber there, who got held up by Dennis Neidhart coming out of the corner. But Fabian just stuck it on the inside, making Justin have to go wide. Justin lost a lot of time because of that.
Just saw that on screen as it was happening. And here we go again. Top three all split by a second between them. They come out of Aintree onto the Wellington straight. Gerber is your leader. Albrecht second. Engstrom in third. They're only 3 seconds ahead of Antti Lepisto as well. And we've seen Lepisto has quite a bit of speed himself. So if they continue fighting like this, if they continue to be held up by traffic, it could be a four-way fight for the win.
And here we go with the battle between Reed Miller and Michael Houghton. Michael Houghton making the pass on Reed just because of that last moment there. But Dennis Neidhart looking like he's been able to pull away a little bit from Michael Houghton now. But Reed Miller climbing back to the back of Michael.
It's wild how quickly the shape of these battles change, because we were just talking about Neidhart having to hold off Houghton, and now he's gotten almost 2 seconds to make up to catch the number 10 and is instead under attack. These drivers dealing with a lot of the GTP cars trying to work their way through as well. Ooh, and Engstrom on Albrecht. Oh, as Albrecht goes around the outside of our GTO leader. Just barely sneaking through in time.
And that's actually tightened up that battle as well. All these battles are starting to come together now that we're getting into the last 12 minutes of this race. Things are starting to heat up, Joe.
It's incredible stuff. 10 more minutes of this before we decide who actually comes out the victor. I'm not sure that we've had any DQs or penalties yet. Meanwhile, 5th place, how about Rob Olenek trying to get back into things with Tobias Gerber, but Gerber is the one that holds on to P5 through that.
Rob Olenek doing a great job getting up to the back of Tobias Gerber. Tobias Gerber has some left side damage and it looks pretty significant for him. So he's probably a little bit injured on the straights, but Rob Olenek doesn't look like he's able to get through the corners as well as Tobias Gerber. So he's got a little bit less downforce. So he'll have even more speed on the straights. So it's just a matter of time. Here goes Rob to the inside, but Tobias is going to cut him off and get back to that apex.
Woof. Don't need to go to it, but Martin Krejcik had a little bit of contact with lap traffic. He spun off track and got going once again. Gerber under incredible pressure from Robbo as they come onto the front stretch. Wow, look at the speed as they start to hit top end. Olenek looking much quicker. You weren't kidding about Gerber limping down the straightaways here. Once they get to Hanger Straight, this could be an easy pass for the number 6.
Yeah, Tobias definitely has more downforce on that GTP than Rob, but Rob's got the straight end speed here. They come up to Jamie Hall and Yoni Hagner again. That's going to hold up Tobias Gerber. Here's an opportunity for Rob.
Oh, this is a great launch. He's going to have to go 3 wide here, though. He's going to hit the side as a late move from Tobias Gerber to cover him off the hard way around there.
Oh, no!
Oh, but there's some ghost contact, and then they come together fully. That sends Tobias Gerber out into the gravel.
Rob could have locked it down there, but he chose to stay in it. He was not happy with Tobias at all after that block on the straight. Here he is, just kind of trying to hold on to it. Tobias trying to hold on to it as well. Man, that is a tough incident from 2 hard-fighting drivers.
And I do think that was quite a bit of net code between them. From my screen, it looked like they did not touch at all the first time. Tobias Gerber had to take it into the pits. Meanwhile, going back to Miller and Schrangrate fighting for 5th place in the GTOs. They come down through Abbey. They're going to be joined by Pawlowski. That was a wild dive from Ove.
Oh, man, I thought for sure Ove was going to get into the back of Reed there. He just was able to woe it up. He really thought he had an opportunity there. Reed Miller struggling on his tires at this point. Ove Schrangrate trying to make it by. And man, these battles are just getting tighter and tighter.
I would expect nothing less from the Norwegian. We've come to know that he is a fierce fighter. He falls back a little bit in that as they get overtaken by Bycroft to the inside there. Mycroft's going to let them continue on that battle. Not missing much at the top of either field. Those are spread apart slightly. The leaders in the GTP could come together a little bit more quickly as there's about 7/10 between them. But Hagner and Hall, 2.3 between first and second place right now in the GTOs.
And here comes Obi Trangerade on Reed Miller. He's going to go to the inside this time before the corner, is going to be able to make it work. He's going to park himself at the apex, a little bit of contact between them, but Ove gets the job done.
Tiny little hello through cops, but nicely done by the number 19. So we had an issue with Linus Tech now just in front of them coming through the Maggots-Beckett sequence. Let's see what happened here. Ooh, boy, he went for a big spin all the way across.
Yep, and this is just the issues with the inside curves. He gets a little bit unstable, a little bit unseated as he takes his left, and then he spins straight off through the grass and is able to stop it before it gets back onto the track. But man, that was a scary moment for Linus.
Ooh, teammates Mukanos and Olenek in a nice fight, and Iamaki's going to get into it. This is for 5th, 6th, and 7th in the prototypes, as you see on screen. Iamaki still trying to make up for his woes in this race. He gets one position, but now he's got to try to get by the number 6.
These three, they've been coming together a little bit, and here we go. Looks like Ardo Iamaki looked at the inside, trying to get Rob a little bit upset right now. Nick Mukanos just looking at the back of this battle, thinking to himself that he might have a great opportunity if these two come together or get a little bit stuck up battling. They're going to come up on Franco Scurry in about half a lap's time. That might be their next opportunity if they can't get a better run.
I wouldn't be surprised if Ardo is able to get by Rob Olenek. Rob is a very fast driver, but Ardo has been on another level lately when it comes to one-lap speed. They plunge down into the Maggots-Beckett sequence now. Ardo closing up a little bit, down to 0.3 of a second, but he's going to need a monster launch if he wants a chance down into Stowe. They got a very slow Franco Scurry in front of them. He's going to stay out of the way.
Franco's been having issues all day. Something technical is going on with him, so he's not up to pace. He's just out trying to gain extra points.
No dice for Iamaki that time up into Stowe. So he's going to have to try and get a little bit closer, and, well, the braking down into Vale gets him a lot closer, as that car is looking very strong on the binders. The number 5, now out of the final corner, needs to try and get himself in a better position to overtake, even if he is strong on the brakes, swinging it through the fast Abbey, then into Farm, going the long way around of that Audi GTO. Olenek covers him off still.
Nick Mukanos having to make some extremely ambitious dives to try and make it by. And the lead in the GTPs also is starting to tighten up. We haven't been watching that very much, but they've been dealing with a lot of traffic. It looks like we might have a pass here. Justin Albrecht's got a fantastic run on Gerber, but he's actually going to back it off. He's thinking that this is not the time. He actually lifted a little bit coming into that corner, allowing Fabian Gerber to get the line and continue on through. He's decided that this isn't the moment. We have an Audi off ahead of them. Man, they've got chaos going on right now.
Yeah, and we don't need to go to it, but Lepisto and Ingstrom have swapped their position back and forth. Lepisto was briefly in third. Ingstrom got it back.
And Rob Olnick's actually to the inside of Ardo Iamaki right now for P5. Ardo going off track to maintain that position. That's not going to be something that Rob likes very much. But man, these battles, they're all heating up.
And Iamaki finally gets himself into 5th place. This might be where his climb stops. It's 20 more seconds up to Lepisto. His fellow Finn is a little bit out of reach unless he has some serious dramas. I have a feeling Rob might try to fight back on Iamaki if he catches traffic right. Right now, though, it's relatively clear. And looking ahead, actually, he's got nothing for quite a while in the form of the Audis. So Iamaki should be able to stretch away if he plays his cards right.
Just an update on the lead in the GTOs. Yoni Hagner has pulled a 4-second lead over Jamie Hall right now. That is an impressive lead. Jamie Hall just not able to stick with him. Yoni showing that his race pace is significantly improved over the last couple seasons. We've seen him run away with races before, but this is on another level. Even after battling with Jamie for so long, to have a 4-second gap at 3 to go, amazing.
Meanwhile, back to our leaders in the prototype. Albrecht still holding within about 3/10. He closes up. He seems a little bit quick in a straight line, at least coming out of Luffield and Woodcote. But then once again, he lifted before they hit cops. So
Yeah.
let's see if he's quicker on the hanger straight, because that'll provide a much better opportunity here.
Yeah, Joe, in general, he has a better car than Fabian Gerber, but what he seems to struggle with is the high-speed corners, which is a little bit of a surprise because you'd think with more downforce, the high speeds would be easier. But Fabian Gerber looks like he's got a little bit of left side damage, and that's slowing him down on the straights. They're coming up to Escoletaniemi right now, and we're going to see whether or not they can navigate him cleanly. It looks like Fabian's going to, and Albrecht is going to. But yeah, these two very close. It looks like Albrecht's got the better speed, but no place to pass.
We did have a change of position between Lepisto and Ingstrom. This one happened into Stowe. So Lepisto now in third place. Let's take a look at the replay on this one. Tapping down the hanger straight with Lepisto just getting himself a beautiful launch. So we're still live here. Oh, apologies. Looks like we didn't quite get the replay spooled up. So still not over between those two, although Ingstrom pulls back quite a bit there. About 1.2 seconds to Lepisto. Now that Ante has gotten by, he has disappeared into the distance. Meanwhile, Gerber and Albrecht. Ooh, Albrecht is looking very, very close. This is where we keep saying he is very strong. Down through Woodcote. He gains. I think eventually he's got to just suck it up and try and dive it into cops here.
Yeah, I think that's the best opportunity he's going to have unless he gets held up with traffic. We're at 1:25 to go at this point, so they're going to be getting the white flag likely the next time around. So this is going to be very interesting to see whether or not Justin can get this done.
As they come back on the hanger straight, just can't carry the speed through the Maggots, Beckett's, and Chapel sequence of corners. It will definitely be the white flag. Let's see, what's the traffic look like in front of them? They've got John Keefe, who's in the prototypes. Then they do have Reed Miller and Phil Lake, and that's something of a battle for sixth place in the GTOs. So that might hold them up a little bit, especially if John Keefe himself plays patient and gets backed up into our leaders. White flag waves for Fabian Gerber. Ooh, side by side between Robbo and Nick Mukanos. Mukanos to the outside. Rob tries to fend him off, but sometimes you can carry the momentum the long way around, and Nick does. That's going to give him the inside into Vale. Nicely done by the 16.
And now we got to go back to the lead in the GTPs because Fabian Gerber just got held up by Reed Miller, and this is giving an opportunity for Justin Albrecht. He's going to have to make it work around the outside. Let's see whether he can do it. This is the toughest corner for the GTP.
The grip just wasn't there for Albrecht. But again, he's been quick off of Luffield. It's going to be a compromise with Phil Lake to their inside through that turn. But as much as that slowed up Gerber, I don't think that was enough. Albrecht just a little bit far back. Now they hit cops for the last time, and he's not close enough to try and make a dive. The Maggots-Beckett sequence has been the weakness of the number 7. He has got to be mighty through this right, left, right. Ooh, he might get some help from traffic. It's a lot of traffic up here. Gerber has got to be very aggressive through it to try and salvage this race, and it looks like he's been aggressive enough. He pulls a gap of about a half a second. As long as he doesn't get held up in the final few corners, this should be Fabian's race.
Here we go, Fabian Gerber trying to make it through. Let's see whether Gareth stays online. That allows Fabian to get through. I think Fabian's got this unless he makes a mistake here.
He's only got to be smooth on the throttle coming off the corner. The finish line comes up quick. Fabian Gerber responds in round 2 by taking victory in Silverstone. Wow.
After his troubles last week, what a fantastic finish this week. Amazing race from him.
Meanwhile, we're watching Mukanos and Olenek, who still aren't done deciding this one. Mukanos might have to go defensive into this corner. Nope, he's going to hold the racing line. Iamaki recovers to 5th ahead of them. Oh, a little bit of a mistake for Mukanos through the chicane. Olenek thinks about trying it, but he's not quite there. So Mukanos gets 6th. Olenek gets 7th. Let's head over to our leader in the GTOs, Joni Hagner. Once again, schooling even the quickest drivers in this car.
A very, very impressive drive from him, with Jamie Hall coming home in 2nd. Man, Joni Hagner just ran away with the field after battling with Jamie Hall for so long. After making that pass, he was just able to snake away.
He didn't get the win, of course, over in Le Mans, but hopping over to the English countryside is going to provide him an excellent opportunity. I'm keeping half an eye on Neidhart and Houghton because they've been relatively close. I'll give a shout if they find themselves start to get into a battle, because it looks like Houghton fell off in traffic or something. How about this for Joni Hagner, multi-time champion in the Audi GTO class here in the Kamel GT series. Vintage cars are his bailiwick. The number 1 is going to win here his first victory of the season in round 2 as he gives a celebratory slide across the line. Hall's going to take 2nd with, I think Houghton must have been behind our leader at the line. And so was Neidhart. So those two have already finished their race. That's going to actually wrap things up then. We're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews. Stick around, because on screen you're going to see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC. Sorry, Adam. I didn't understand what you meant when you said they're done.
Sorry. Wow. Okay. Well, if any series could make Silverstone exciting.
Yeah. Wow. Welcome back to Silverstone. We just watched round 2 in the Kamel GT series, and it was non-stop for the entire race. Battles everywhere you looked. But Fabian Gerber, despite having to fight for it, took advantage of a little bit of drama in front of himself to get into the position he needed and take the victory over Justin Albrecht. This has become a great rivalry between these two. Albrecht started second, finished second, but almost had a win and all. He did have a little bit of contact. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Anti Lepisto managed third, having started sixth. He also got hit by Fabian Gerber at one point, but came back for the podium. He was in a nice fight with Giddy Ingstrom, who wound up fourth behind him. Ardo Iamaki was the one that wound up making contact with Albrecht, was leading the race. I'd love to hear their two perspectives on that incident. The pole sitter wound up fifth place. Nick Mukanos, sixth, beating out his teammate Rob Olenek, fighting all the way to the line. Olenek in seventh, and Fabian Newloop in eighth. Roman Pawlowski, boy, a rough introduction for him, taking ninth. Still, no shame in that, as Linus Technow finishing out the top 10 in the GTP. Steve Bycroft, really didn't get to look at him a whole lot, but he wound up 11th. Roberto De Filippis took 12th after starting 17th, so a nice bit of points in the Milk Zoo Championship there for him. Dustin Heroder finishes 13th with Tobias Gerber in P14, all the way down from 4th. It was a bit of a shame for him today. Laust Olsen in 15th, and then Martin Krejcik winds up 16th. Robert Plumley, P17 for him. Pablo Suarez 18th, and John Keefe 19th. The last of the finishers of the GTPs was Lance Simon in 20th.
Yoni Hagner comes home pole to the victory in the GTOs with Jamie Hall holding on to second. That does not tell the whole story of the race, though, with Dennis Neidhart coming home in the third position. And then we have Michael Houghton coming home in fourth, with Ove Trangerade fifth. Phil Lake climbs all the way back up to sixth place after a lap one incident that put him down to 17th. Impressive climb back for him. Reed Miller comes home in the seventh position. Esko Letaniemi comes home in eighth. Luis Emerton ninth. Then we have Marco Sassana in 10th, Hideki Koivisto in 11th place, Joseph Erlbach coming home in 12th, Cedric Poyle in 13th, Volt Dietrich Hotho coming home in 15th position, Franco Scurry 16th, a good recovery from him with his technical issues, then Gareth Robichaud in 17th, Juan Ignacio Jorducha in 18th position, Johnny Bell 19th, Daniel Sadro 20th, and then even after all the contact, only two DNFs today, Jonathan Mansell and Jeremy Swain.
That is impressive. And we've got our winner ready to talk to us, Fabian Gerber. Fabian, you managed to get the win. You had to fight hard for it. But let's talk a little bit about some of the lowlights first in the race. You had a spin coming into Brooklands, and then not long after that, you and Lepisto had it coming together. What got the car unsteady, and then what caused the contact?
It's hard to say, to be honest. It's I lost the car going in that turn. I had horrible understeer from mid-race on, so I think I just was too late and tried out a different line and didn't work, so I spun out. And with Antti, he could overtake me, so I was really close in Cobb's corner, and then I was really close on him through Beckett's and Chapel, and he braked, but it was probably because there was an Audi in front of him and I had no idea there was one, so I didn't expect him to brake. That's why I hit him. I'm very sorry about that.
I saw a little bit of some of the apology there in the chat. Let's go a little bit before that as well. You were running in third place, and suddenly the seas parted. What was your perspective on what happened between the leaders, Justin Albrecht and Ardo Iamaki?
Usually both are very safe drivers, and I feel very comfortable to battle with both of them. So I was very surprised that they hit each other, but I didn't look at the replay, so I have no idea what actually happened. I just realized I can go through safely. Arthur was spinning out, and Justin was blocked, so I could go through safely. That was a relief, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth, as they say. A victory, though, today. You had to hold off Justin as he did come back at you towards the end. You two have got a nice little rivalry going. This is becoming something of a theme, it seems, season after season. Yeah,
it's a nice battle. He's a real sport, so it's really fun to fight with him. He's usually a bit quicker since last season, so it was really tough. And my understeer was so heavy, I was actually worried that I was thinking I was brake testing him in the what used to be the final corner. I had so much understeer, so I was really glad that I could finish in front. And also in my final lap, I also had heavy traffic in Beckett's and Chapel, and so I dived in. I think it was Michael Houghton. So I'm sorry about this too, because I just saw Holland went through it because I needed. Otherwise, Justin would have been so close, he could have attacked for the hanger straight. So it was such a tough race. It was a bit messy. It's not my proudest win, but I still take it. It was so tough, and great thing.
Well, it was fun to watch from our perspective as well. That was our winner, Fabian Gerber, in the prototypes. We got our winner in the GTOs as well. Joni Hagner is joining us with Adam, talking to him.
Definitely Joni pole to the victory, but that is not the story of this race. How hard was it battling with Jamie Hall there early on in the race?
Not that difficult, but the passing was a bit interesting because of the track.
Definitely, yeah. How was the traffic today? It seemed like a lot of the GTPs were getting in between you and Jamie and breaking up those battles, even while you were behind him for a little bit.
Yeah, the problem is in this track is because Nissans are like running really high downforce settings, so the straight line speed are quite the same, and they are much better on the brake, so it creates some interesting situations.
And there are a couple tracks, Yoni, where you seem to have the pace over the rest of the field quite a bit during the race. What do you think separates you from those drivers when it comes to race pace at tracks like this?
Probably because I can drive fast and keep my tires alive. I have suspicion that Jamie have some tire wear at the end, so
Definitely. Well, fantastic race, Yoni. You did an excellent job today. Pole to the victory, and fantastic job. Is there anyone you want to thank today?
yeah, thank you to my friends in the other voice chat, keeping me company during the race.
Definitely. Well, great job, Yoni, and congrats, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah, thank you, bye.
That was Joni Hagner, our winner in the GTO class, and then we have Michael Houghton next with us with Joe Peak.
Michael Houghton has managed to get himself a fourth place finish, but it could have been a podium. We heard from Fabian, who felt a little bit bad about the move at the very last lap, Michael, where he had to kind of get to your inside just as you were trying to fight Dennis. Thoughts from your perspective? Do you kind of understand that this is how it is, or were you a little upset by that?
No, it's all it's just give and take. You just have to understand what's happening at that moment in time and accept it. You can't do anything about it. But yeah, I don't think I would have gotten Dennis. I would have needed another race for that.
Yeah, I mean, you've already got a victory. You got a fourth place. This is a good start for the season, I'd say. I mean, what are you looking at coming through the rest of this thing as far as goals?
Well, I felt pretty lucky at Le Mans with Phil and Jamie crashing into each other, and I kind of with this Silverstone track, I kind of find out where I am in the pack, and yeah, it looks like I'm top 5, so definitely a contender.
Well, we'll look forward to you having more battles for podiums and potential victories. Coming up next week, though, you've got Phillip Island, and that is another one that's got to be tricky for multi-class racing, especially with the differences between these cars. How do you prepare for that race? Do you try and get as much practice in traffic as possible, or what do you do?
Well, I just, grow some balls and practice because these tracks are tough.
They really, really are. Well, again, congratulations. Anybody you want to thank for this top 5 today?
I just want to thank you guys. You guys doing an amazing job. Thank you so much, man.
That was Michael Houghton, 4th place here in the GTO class. One last one we want to talk to, a driver who probably could have had a little bit better finish. We've got Phil Lake talking to Adam Lindgren.
Yeah, definitely Phil, after an unfortunate moment with Dennis at the beginning of the race. 17th to 6th. That's an impressive climb back up the field. How did you do it today?
Angrily, I guess. Yeah, that was unfortunate with Dennis at the start. We talked about it a bit after the race, and he wasn't sure exactly where the slowdown was on the exit curb, and I thought he was gonna. I thought I was clear actually, but I thought he would have, used a bit more of the curb and give me some space, but it was kind of 50-50. and then I stalled it again. I've really got to learn to not stall it every time I spin. Yeah, and then I was just trying to battle back through the field. It was kind of fun, but the Nissans were really frustrating today. They just cost a lot of lap time every time they came through, and it ultimately stopped me from catching Ove and Mike and Dennis at the end there.
Yeah, definitely. You were quite a bit closer. We weren't sure you were going to be able to claw your way back that far, but very impressive time gains. And with the GTP traffic, with them cutting through, did it seem like they understood the necessities of the Audi class and like what you guys needed to do in order to get around the track, or did it seem like they were kind of just racing on their own?
I think for the most part, it was just they weren't doing anything wrong, but it was just costing us so much time. Like when they take the inside for Luffield and we have to go all the way around the outside of them, it just costs you a lot of time. They've not done anything wrong. There was a couple of times where a Nissan would pass going into one of the slow sections, and we're kind of faster through there, or the same speed at least. So I was kind of felt like they maybe should have waited, because that was kind of holding everyone up. But for the most part, it was fine. It was just the layout of the track makes it so the Audis lose quite a bit of lap time.
Well, Phil, after 2 tough races, we're looking at Phillip Island next week. What are your thoughts going into that race?
I like the track, so I just hope to have a clean one next week.
All right, Phil. Well, great job. Great climb back up, and we look forward to seeing you race for the lead and hopefully for the win next week.
Yeah, thanks, guys. See you there.
And that was Phil Lake talking to us. He finished 6th today after starting off in the 3rd position.
Not too bad, at least damage limitation for Phil. But we're going to close up with a big thank you to the Kamel GT community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. We really do love getting to call these races. Thanks to the companies also that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more per great work. Thanks to the team today, Adam, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check us out on social media. Twitter is at GSR Channel, Facebook, Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram is GSRC_Graham. If you'd like to support the channel, check out our merchandise store, which is linked in the description below. But before you do that, subscribe to GSRC because you'll be automatically entered into a free draw for 2 people to take their choice of an item from our merchandise store. The next race, as we mentioned, we're going down to Australia, Phillip Island, Saturday, December 28th at noon Eastern. But we have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Have a happy holidays in the meantime until we come back. So until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.